Hi there, this is Mr. Evans with this video on market mapping. It's from this section here in the specification under 3.3.2. So market mapping is the process of assessing the level of competition in a market by analysing the characteristics of the brands within that market. Hard to explain without an example, so let's look at one. Okay, so let's say that this is the market for fast food in my local area, and I've picked two characteristics by which to characterise the brands who are in this market. So I'm going to try and plot on here where I believe the local fast food restaurants are in terms of whether I believe the products they sell are healthy versus unhealthy, and whether I perceive them to be a low price or relatively expensive. So first business I'll plot on there is Leon. Have a look at the website maybe if you're not sure who the company are, but they sell fast food. You walk in there to a counter, you order, you get your order relatively quickly. It's a fast food restaurant, but their USP is that it's natural ingredient and they sell it as being relatively healthy compared to alternatives. So I've plotted Leon up here as expensive and kind of, quite healthy in this quadrant here. Also in that same quadrant I've put Pret a Manger, and I believe, and this of course is my subjective opinion, that Pret a Manger might argue that they're somewhat healthier and also somewhat less expensive than Leon. I'm sure people at McDonald's would disagree, but I would put McDonald's as kind of relatively unhealthier. I know they've launched some salads and things in recent years, but their core product is burgers, chips, cokes, milkshakes, not particularly healthy stuff, and they sell it at a very competitive price. So I put McDonald's somewhere down there, and maybe even lower price, potentially even unhealthier, maybe the sort of food you might pick up at a local kebab type shop. So one more, Gourmet Burger Kitchen. There's been a trend in the last 5 to 10 years of these kind of quite fancy burger restaurants coming out. They might not see themselves as fast food, but anyway, nevertheless, I'm popping them down. Quite expensive, but not particularly healthy, so somewhere around there. Now then, just like to make it clear that is fully based on my opinion, and no more than that. However, I hope it illustrates the concept of a market map. So let's have a look at some of the other characteristics I might have chosen to use. Obviously those characteristics, particularly healthy versus unhealthy, would be appropriate for a food type product. There are other characteristics that might be useful in other industries or markets. So we might do high quality versus low quality. I sometimes see maps that are high quality versus low quality on one axis and high price versus low price on another. I believe that that's kind of a pointless map to draw, because usually there is a positive correlation between those two things, i.e. if something's of a high price, you would expect it to be of a high quality. Equally, lower price stuff probably not of as good as quality, so I'd probably avoid putting quality and price on the same map. But certainly quality is important. You could look at regular purchases versus one-off purchases. So for example, in the chocolate market, you could look at the sort of kind of everyday chocolate bars that might be purchased versus the sort of chocolate that you would buy for someone birthdays or Christmas or whatever. So that regular versus one-off purchase. products that are really aesthetically pleasing, ones that have had a lot of effort put into their design, making them look good, versus a more functional design. So, maybe that would be a good one to use in the car industry. Really nice looking cars versus, the sort of cheaper family saloon cars that have had potentially less effort put into making them look really good. We may have products that are aimed at novices and products that are aimed at experts. So, I'm thinking about potentially in the coffee market, you might get coffee makers that would be suitable for somebody who really knows what they're doing versus a fairly simple coffee maker that anyone can use. Finally, speed versus economy. You may look at, this would be a good one for cars again, looking at cars that are designed to go really quickly versus those that are designed to conserve fuel and save fuel. So, market mapping, what are the benefits of doing it? First of all, it helps to identify potential gaps in the market. So if we just go back and look at the one that I created, so we can see there's a big gap over here in low price healthy food. Okay, so potentially if I was an entrepreneur looking at the fast food market in this town, I might start to think, okay, well, is there a market over here, because it looks somewhat less congested, somewhat less competitive over here, and maybe that will give me a unique selling point that I can exploit. That would be useful for me as a new business, or maybe I might even be Pret-a-Manger, for example, and deciding, well, we're quite busy up here, we've got some competitors, maybe we need to reposition ourselves so we're a bit cheaper, and try and exploit that gap in the market. It helps us to identify our competitors. So Leon might look at that and think, right, we really need to be competitive against Pret. But actually, I'm not so worried about the kebab shop because we've not got the same target customers. So they're not, although they're in the same market as us, they're not really a competitor because we don't appeal to the same consumers. If the market map has been created through market research and finding out what consumers think, it would help to identify the public perception of brand image, and we could either decide that's something that we want, or we might look to change that public perception. However, on the other hand, there are some weaknesses. So the market mapping process doesn't necessarily identify consumer demand. Maybe there's a big gap in the market in the healthy, cheap quadrant because there's no consumers there. Maybe there's not a demand for healthy products that are inexpensive. These tend to simplify competitive markets. So in the case of my example, you've got Pret and Leon, these companies targeting the expensive, healthy consumers. Maybe that's those sort of businesses are particularly busy during the week when office workers are in the city centre looking for lunch, whereas the kebab shop, okay, it's not busy during those times, but on a Friday, Saturday night, I bet I know which one is busier. So we're oversimplifying a complex market. That kebab shop may well be filling a need that Leon and Pret aren't. Finally, it's going to be dependent on the opinions of the creator and could therefore be subject to bias. I haven't based my market map on anything other than my own perceptions. Maybe I need to go out and ask a few more people. And even if you do base your map on some market research, who have you asked? What's the quality of that research? Have you asked a broad range of people, etc.? So, market mapping, useful in terms of identifying gaps in the market and providing a simple overview, but there are some weaknesses of market mapping as well. You need to be aware of what the uses are of market mapping for a business.